The penultimate race of the Integrity Ignite Series season brings us to the home of the NASCAR Cup Series Championship race. 2 points separate Alec Daffin and Thomas Bressie in the quest for the championship. As with only 2 rounds remaining, the Next Level Racing 200-kilometer is the second-to-last race in 2023. Qualifying's on the move with 7.5 minutes remaining. Alan Dobbs at the pole position with Thomas Bressie 73 one-thousandths of a second behind, and over 20 drivers have registered for tonight's event. Don Stevenson on the move as it stands, takes his number 47 up into 5th, and the championship battle now down to 8 drivers, but only 2 in particular have run away. After a successful night in Martinsville, both Alec Daffin and Thomas Bressie have extended their championship lead, and now the battle between the both of them is down to 2 individual points with more than 100 laps to play here in Avondale, Arizona. Great to have you all watching live again in FTN. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. Throughout 2023, we've seen fantastic battling, great racing from this entirety of the series, and now the 29th of 30 races throughout 2023, the second season of Ignite Series competition is set to come to a close, and tonight might be the way to go when it comes to deciding the championship. As we remember, last season at the Pocono Raceway, almost every driver in the final 8 wrecked on the first lap, gave way to DJ Stagner gaining a major advantage, and nobody could overcome that edge when the checkered flag fell at Charlotte the week after. However, this season it's been a bit more even in terms of the championship picture, and multiple drivers are still mathematically eligible in regards to winning that title at the end of next week's race at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Tom Wetmore, who found himself as a leading contender of the Octane Series, qualifies in 3rd, 74 one-thousandths of a second away from that of Alan Dobbs. So once again, Wetmore returns for the first time this season. We saw him late in last season, but he's returned once again and takes the Tube Tech Supra up to the final spot in the podium. Cody Griffin right now going to be in the number 3 Chevrolet machine, and for the Bowtie Brigade, Cody Griffin currently runs 16th in qualifying as he makes it down the former front straightaway into the new location of the start-finish line. For those who might not be all too aware of Phoenix Raceway's new changes, the front straightaway of old has become the backstretch that leads you to that start-finish line, and now the dog leg is entirely open. You can go down under pit exit and use that as a racing surface. Cody Griffin going to do so. He'll only get up to 15th in qualifying as Alec Daffin gets on the track. And for Thomas Bressie, he's starting solidly up in 2nd. Going to take a lot to beat that lap time of a 27.669. Now time to find out whether or not Alec Daffin has what it takes as the Shaw Racing number 48 machine comes around for the final time in the Ignite Series here in Phoenix. Alec Daffin set to retire from iRacing competition come the end of the year on a full-time basis with the Shaw Racing crew. Had his final race in the Saturday Night Truck Series, of course, this Saturday, as Alec Daffin shoots to 2nd place and immediately goes above Thomas Bressie. He understood the assignment and then some, and now Daffin starts right ahead of his championship rival in the 2nd place, and that's been the big Achilles heel so far for Alec Daffin's championship run. He has not been able to qualify well, and it looks like tonight that will not be the case. At the very worst, he'll be starting mathematically in the 6th place as we wait for Forrest Smith, Tyler Hensley, Gael Brooks, and Jacob Fife. But that's going to be the barn burner run Alec Daffin needs, and for the driver who's now running on 3 consecutive podium finishes, if he wants to go for a 4th, that's a great way to start it. He's had to come from the back of the field 2 races in a row. First, of course, when it went to the Auto Club Speedway, and after Fontana, we went to Martinsville, and starting in the mid-pack to claw up to 2nd right behind first-time race winner Blake Gordon. Took an awful lot out of that number 48 machine, but the crew at Shaw Racing made it happen, and now Daffin picking it up where he left off from Martinsville, where he finished 2nd. He'll be starting 2nd tonight if nobody else chooses to take a time. Tom Wetmore is still taking laps as it stands, and for Wetmore, not a frequent competitor here in the Ignite Series. He knows a lot of these drivers, though, from the Octane Tour, where the Tuesday night venture is in next-gen Cup cars, as opposed to these Xfinity Series machines. They drive different, they handle different, but when you're around a very similar group of drivers, drivers, a similar style of racing tends to develop. Now, Tom Wetmore was not able to come home with the Ignite Series Championship. Of course, he did not race full-time here, nor the Octane Series Cup. That's where Seth Noel came home with his first ever title win to the Tuesday Night Tour, and it was a beaten and bang battle with he and Ross Cato, but Wetmore had himself 6 race wins during that time period. That season was a fantastic venture for the 51 team, and they were quick at Phoenix too, just couldn't make it work out in the dying laps of the season finale. So now with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left, signs are showing that Tyler Hensley and Gael Brooks have attempted laps, but nothing more will come of them, as it looks like they both were invalidated 2 times over. Now for Ford Smith and Jacob Fife, no laps have been set. However, there's no indication they will not be going out of the track, and we'll still have to wait and see. But for the most part, 19 drivers have taken the time. 2 other drivers attempted to take a lap, but failed to do so. So now we have ourselves a starting grid worth presenting. Tom Wetmore going to take some extra laps in the background as we get things going, but we'll show you the starting grid as it stands. 21 drivers taking laps so far out of the 23 that have registered, and Tom Wetmore going to make it down the former front straightaway as we are set to present your penultimate starting grid of the 2023 season. Without further ado, this is your starting grid for the Next Level Racing 200-kilometer, 125 laps from the Phoenix Raceway, with Alan Dobbs starting at the top of the board. Dobbs might not be the strongest championship competitor, but he finds himself marked in orange. He is still title eligible. Pole position for the man of the 05 machine. He'll be starting in first with a 27.596, and then from there, second place going to be held by Alec Daffin. And Daffin, the championship competitor who's now 2 points behind the points leader, starts up with a 27.663 compared to points leader Thomas Bressy's 27.669. 1,000th of a second behind is going to be Tom Wetmore outside of her own number 2. 4th place held by Tom Wetmore, and that number 51 machine there with a 27.67. Sean Carmody rounds out the top 5 with a 27.689, and Matthew Thunhorse is scored in position number 6 with a 27.717. 7th place then going to be held by Don Stevenson's number 47 as a 27.784 puts the 47 in 7th. Nick Tarbuck going to be 8th with a 27.797, and Boomer Logan qualifies 9th with Michael Stroll rounding up the top 10 in his number 38 machine. Then from there you're going to see 11th place occupied by Chad Mikas, 27.827 for the driver of that 25. Rob Ackley going to be qualified in 12th, and Kyle Cooper rounds out the Baker's dozen, 13th place inside of row number 7. Blake Gordon going to be a dead even time with Kyle Cooper, both scoring 27.92s. The faster time when calculated further goes to Kyle Cooper. 15th place then going to be held by Brian McFerrin, and Cody Griffin going to be in the 16th spot with a 28.044. Timothy Johnston, 17th place on the order, going to be starting there with a 28.12, and Brandon Bernard's going to be 18th of those who took a time, and it's going to be a 28.173 for the 81. Andrew Schaub takes the final last time with a 28.945, and Jacob Fife will be starting 20th based on iRating assignment. Then from there, Forrest Smith going to be starting 21st, Tyler Hensley, the number 46 machine, will be starting in 22nd, and Gael Brooks will round out the 23-car field here on the Phoenix Raceway. That is your starting grid for the Next Level Racing 200-kilometer. And now with some time to spare, Phoenix Raceway empty once again, but drivers are taking once again to the track, this time for second practice. 5 additional minutes for drivers to get their last reps in, make those final tweaks and adjustments, and see what works and what doesn't. And in the heat of the championship battle, your final 8 drivers especially should be using this time. It's the best chance to understand the race conditions, because as you can see, conditions are changing. Weather will continue to be fluctuating, and right now, partly cloudy skies at 96 degrees Fahrenheit in Avondale, Arizona. Track temperature a sizzling 104 degrees Fahrenheit. So by no means is it going to be a cool track tonight. You'll see drivers slipping and sliding around, and you're especially going to see it right by the front straightaway. And a perfect example, Alan Dobbs right there. He's going to go right by, and now we'll watch a few other drivers as they take that entry down to the dog leg. If you get caught on the apron, you might end up spinning. And we've seen multiple times before in the past few weeks, drivers taking it down to the bottom side here in Phoenix, trying to make something happen by cutting that distance and getting caught on the middle seam that separates the banking from the flat portion of the track. And if you get caught up there, you have the wheels caught up in that groove, you're going to end up loose, out of control, and might come up the track as well, which will most certainly cause a yellow flag. 3 minutes and time still to kill for Michael Stroll, the fastest man on the board right now, by 84 one-thousandths of a second. Michael Stroll going to be there. He's set so far only 3 laps on his run and making those early reps in to get that advantage over his competitors. Michael Stroll, first round exit this season, his first Clash appearance, and for the number 38 machine, a lot of high hopes in terms of making it further, but tonight, not going to be the case, and it looks like for the rest of the season, that's the way it stays. And as Michael Stroll makes it around, Tom Wetmore, the fastest driver on the board now, he'll take it by 1/10 of a second, and 2.5 minutes remaining for the driver of the number 51 machine, and that Tube Tech Supra, not a Chevrolet, now the fastest on the board. Nick Tarbuck going to be in the 3rd place, and Sean Carmody is going to be in 4th. Alan Dobbs is 5th, and Kyle Brooks is now 6th. 13 drivers have taken the time to this point, and more are still to come. Right now, going to be a side-by-side battle between Nick Tarbuck and Chad Mikas. Micah stays high, and it looks like he'll be neck and neck at the stripe as Nick Tarbuck takes it all the way down to the bottom of that dog leg. That is racing room now at Phoenix. What previously was covered up by grass is now an entry to the racing circuit and the exit of pit road. The layout changes here at Phoenix have allowed for more racing room to be developed, and even though it means it's going to be a lot riskier when it comes to our starts and restarts, it gives these drivers the opportunity to cut low, save some distance, and maybe have some quicker lap times. Some drivers are set up better for taking the banking. Others will take that dog leg deep as they can, and it depends on your driving style and your preferences. When it all comes down to it, that's been the big difference at Phoenix before, how you understand the track. It doesn't matter if you take it down low or you use that banking. If you understand the track well and its differences compared to its previous configuration, then you'll be a much better driver all around, not only for the short run, but for the long run, as we do expect to see some longer green flag runs. Even Martinsville had them, but here at Phoenix, a lot more racing room, not as many drivers, so we're expecting cleaner racing for the most part with 1 minute left on the order. Tom Wetmore still the fastest man as we watch this battle between Nick Tarbuck and Chad Mikas ride on board with a rear view perspective of the number 29, and now find out why he's 3rd in the second practice charts. And you're seeing now the difference between Nick Tarbuck and Chad Mikas in their lines through the corners. Chad Mikas washing up a lot more, almost out of control, while Nick Tarbuck was able to keep it steady for the most part, and that was the big edge that come across the stripe yet again. 12 seconds remaining and still counting down. Tom Wetmore, the fastest driver, as he comes down to pit road, and he's going to make it a real risky entry. He's the quickest man on the board here in warm-up. Wetmore, fastest man, and just like that, onto our 125 lap main event in the Avondale, Arizona Speedway. Welcome to Phoenix, and welcome to the penultimate race of 2023. And as our drivers get set to go on the starting grid, 2 races left. And the magnitude of this one cannot be understated. So to review it once again for those who are watching for the first time, there is a simple way to identify who is championship eligible and who is not. If a driver is marked in orange, much like Alan Dobbs is, or Alec Daffin, or Thomas Bresci, if they're marked in orange on your ticker at the top or on the driver identifier at the bottom right, they are still fighting for the championship. So with that being said, those are the drivers who are fighting for the big title. Not only are they going to be fighting for the season title, but the year overall title. Matthew Thunhorst has the advantage right now of about 50 points in that championship race. However, we'll see whether or not he keeps that edge come the final 2 nights. There's still a chance it sways in someone else's favor in the final few races. It could all still be be changed. Tom Wetmore is going to be marked in red, and for that reason, he's not championship eligible. However, he is still going to be racing for that win, so don't count your drivers in red out come getting that victory through, because Blake Gordon, one of the drivers marked in red this week, he won last week, so it is still possible for championship spoilers to win. However, expect for those guys in orange to race a bit harder. Time to get off the starting grid here in Phoenix and get locked and loaded for 125 laps in the deserts of Arizona. And now Alan Dobbs is going to be there. First position, the iRacing official pace cars. Lights are off, and this time by Alan Dobbs knows he's gonna have to shine as bright as those lights and then some. His championship hunt, it's on the line tonight, and if he doesn't succeed, he knows that he'll have to go home and wait another season until February returns for another chance at the championship. Alec Daffin is chasing now a total of 4 consecutive podiums in a row, dating back to the first race of the Clash in Kentucky, and he's been the most successful driver so far and still needs to gain time and gain points on his biggest rival, Thomas Bressie, as the field goes through the final turn one more time. This time, it's on the green. Welcome to the Next Level Racing 200 kilometer. With the first lap complete, Alec Daffin's got the edge, and the number 48 machine gets it cleanly. And just like that, looking for 4 podiums in a row, Daffin looking for 2 wins in those 4 races. He's got the lead, and he knows this is his final opportunity with Shaw Racing to go for the championship. The long-tenured driver of over 2 years for Shaw Racing has made it around now successfully for the first 2 laps as the race leader. And so it goes for the first 2 times. Daffin, your leading man. Rest of the field chasing. Alan Dobbs lies back, but he knows he cannot lay back any further because his championship race relies on his success tonight or his failure by proxy if he were to fall down the order. This is the do or die, the go big, go home race for a lot of these guys, and for Daffin and Bressie included. They might have a lot bigger points buffer to work with, but at the same time, you really cannot expect them to rest on what they've got, knowing how quick drivers like Matthew Thunderstall are, knowing how quick Alan Dobbs is right now in particular. He's red hot and up into second already, and knowing how a guy like Don Stevenson or Rob Ackley is still creeping in the background, and they can make moves if possible. They just got to get through a few more drivers to really put themselves in winning contention. It's not done by any means for any driver we've just mentioned, and they're all still in the thick of the battle. Come the final lap, you could see another driver, not Daffin, as the winner. This time by though, Alex got that race lead, and it's the best place to be because he knows every lap out front, you break away, you got that clean air, you're really working your equipment over much less because you're not in the position to chase, you're the one who's being chased. And right now for Alan Dobbs, that's exactly the case, as that time by about 1/10 of a second slower than that of Alec Daffin. Daffin looks to be quicker right now than the remainder of the field, and the question becomes whether or not that is a sustainable pace or if he's pushing all he's got right now and hoping for a caution to bail him out. Now right now Dobbs going to lie back and actually get a quicker lap, so Daffin going to make a bit of a misstep, and now 28.3 flat as opposed to a 28.176. Those differences in tenths of seconds, they might not mean all too much right now, especially in the very early stages of this race, but you got to understand as this night progresses more and more, these changes will mean a lot in the grand scheme of things. This race not decided in one lap, but all these laps that are put together lead to one final result. Through the dogleg, Alec Daffin, Alan Dobbs, and Tom Wetmore first, second, and third. Wetmore, the championship spoiler, rounds out the podium, and now Thomas Bressie there in fourth. Matthew Thunners rounds out in the top 5. Nick Tarbuck going to be position number 6. Michael Stroll then 7th, and Don Stevenson now going to be in 9th, right behind Sean Carmody in that 8th place in between Stroll and Stevenson. Now it's going to be a battle for second, slowly but surely heating up. Look off the back bumper of Alan Dobbs right now and see what's going on. And close quarters here in the first few laps in Phoenix, 8 laps into the 125. The Tube Tech and Robin Steele attorneys at law, number 51, chasing down the Nightfall Graphics machine led. Of course, it's still Alec Daffin, but in second, Alan Dobbs, as we're watching on board with this 05. Drivers are still getting acclimated to what's going to go on for the remainder of this race, so don't expect as much aggression from most of these guys. However, if you look further on back, you'll see Don Stevenson now side by side with Sean Carmody, and one of the rookies now being raced by one of the Integrity Racing League's biggest veterans, and Don Stevenson making around with Sean Carmody right up top. Now, Carmody first debuted this season in Daytona, the second ever season opener, and showed glimpses of pace, leading laps, but the Harley-Davidson number 40 machine has not yet been able to come home with a podium finish, and even though he's led laps throughout this season, has not been there at the very end, contesting for a victory. Now, right now, indeed, he's going to be running in that 9th position. Not all a bad place to be in, of course, but if there's going to be any chance for him to go out and win this race, he's got to step it up that much more in the coming laps, because opening up the pit cycle very soon, that's when it becomes a wide open race for certain drivers. If you ace that strategy, then you're going to be on for a much better race. The first 50-odd laps will really determine who goes where as the race goes on. And right now, 11 laps in, Daffin and Alan Dobbs are sure hoping they can stay up here for the remainder of the night. Thomas Bressy's faded back a bit. Now, he's going to be in the 4th spot. Not all a bad place to be, but at the same time, for Thomas Bressy, really not exactly where he needs to be, given the fact that Alan Dobbs, who is in that 2nd position, is now 2 places ahead, and now even Alec Daffin 3 places ahead. So multiple championship rivals that he's going to be losing points to, and especially in regard to Alec Daffin, no points can be lost. It's a near picture perfect battle, 2 points separating your top 2 drivers in the championship race. And looking further back, you'll also see Matthew Thunhorst, and while Matthew Thunhorst might not be fighting for the overall season championship, he's got himself a fight in the Next Level Racing Championship for the biggest prize in the Integrity Racing League's history. The championship battle is one thing, but the $2,000 sim rig courtesy of Next Level Racing is the grand prize for the driver who's the most consistent throughout 2023. Now, Matthew Thunhorst currently holds that top prize by about 50 points over Thomas Bressie, and that's another battle to watch out for, but Bressie knows he's got the edge right now in the season championship fight, and it would be between Daffin and Thomas Bressie as things are going so far. If they took their points and moved on to the season finale in Homestead, it'd be 1-2. The 48 machine with that minor advantage. But don't count out Thomas Bressie, because not too far behind, he's making moves and goes down to the bottom side on Tom Wetmore. Now Tom's going to be able to move himself up top. No wreck just yet. Drivers getting closer and closer, though, and they're going to be side by side. Now lunging deep, it's going to be the Exalta Chevrolet on the bottom. Still trying to make a move, but nothing's come of it as they're side by side yet again. And now Tom Wetmore going to be up there on the top side once more, but this time with a bit more momentum. And it looks like for Tom, he gets that spot right back. Early troubles in regards to having that number 51 machine pressure by Thomas Bressie, but it looks like Bressie's going to have to lie back, and just like that, everyone's going to be back where they were before, and it's going to be Thomas Bressie still fighting in 4th. Matthew Thunhorst is still battling in the 5th spot, and Nick Tarbuck is slowly but surely making his way up there as well. He's in 6th. Michael Stroll there in 7th. Position number 7 for Michael Stroll and 6 for Nick Tarbuck, as we mentioned, and they're 2 championship spoilers, not eligible for the title. However, they are still going to be racing for that win, and Nick Tarbuck knows he's won it, of course, beforehand as a championship spoiler. He got it done oh so close to the beginning of our championship run in the Clash. However, he was not able to lock himself in due to not making that minimum participation requirement. That's the big Achilles heel of his season. Now, that's of course something that can be improved upon by simply showing up and registering. However, Nick Tarbuck's pace throughout the season has been exemplary and that of a race-winning contender week in, week out. Thomas Bressie can get very loose that time by. Luckily, nothing more is going to come of it. But 17 laps into the 125, still no major movements up in the front of the field. Everyone, as it stands, staying calm, knowing how much is on the line. Daffin's led, and it looks like nobody trying to get with him right now. The reason is, matter of fact, Alec Daffin actually looks to be a bit quicker than he was beforehand. Now, lap times are substantially slower. That time by Alec Daffin ran a 28.977, which is about 1 second slower than his fastest lap, a 27.962. Alan Dobbs ran a 29.04, which is a second slower than his 28.01, which is the fastest time that he has set. So these drivers are now creeping into the 29-second range, and it might be even creeping into the 30s if all goes far from well, shall we say. And right now, with tire degradation already becoming major, the reason in part is because of those warm track temperatures that kicked off the night with at 106 degrees Fahrenheit. It's still at 106, and honestly, shocking that it has not moved any further. Partly cloudy skies, still at 96 degrees in the air and 106 on the track. That's the big key to the tire degradation all night long. Understanding how warm the track is. 106 right now. It is, of course, set to decline eventually. However, right now, I don't think we've hit that point, as in terms of the sim time, it's about 2 o'clock p.m., just after midday. So we're still warming up slightly. Now going to be 97 Fahrenheit in the air once again, bobbling back and forth between 96 and 97. Weather changes here in iRacing, and these drivers have to take account for it. As you'll see there, Matthew Thunhorst and Thomas Bressi still right with each other, 4th and 5th respectively. Now as they go through once again 21 laps into the 25, Alec Dafton's got the race lead, but there are some battles that are much closer as we take a look all throughout the field. Say for instance, we got Timothy Johnston and Jacob Fife fighting each other further on back. Fife and Johnston not going to be championship competitors in the round of 8 this season. Fife was a first round exit, and Timothy Johnston part-time this season, so he's not been fighting for the season-long title. However, they've both been very quick throughout the tour, have not yet been able to break through for that win, but right now mired back in traffic as Timothy Johnston goes down to the bottom side, and the USAA 28 machine takes it right down low. Jacob Fife can opt to stay up high here, and for Fife, he was very quick in the Integrity Octane Series finale here at Phoenix. The only problem for him was due to a walk-off victory from Ross Cato. He was not involved in that Final Four as a championship contender. Instead of to sit in the sidelines as the first driver eliminated as a result of that walk-off win, Jacob Fife, who would have barely pointed his way through, would not have made it and had to give way to Wetmore, who would have been the first driver to point his way in no matter what. So Jacob Fife tonight not having as much success in these Xfinity machines. They drive different, and as a result, different drivers having different levels of success. I mean, Tom Wetmore, who did not have a strong Phoenix in the Octane Series, finds himself up there in the 3rd spot right now, and 24 laps in at a 125. The way they roll, Jacob Fife going to lose that spot there to Timothy Johnston, and Timothy gets back on the way, currently running in 14th. And you look right behind Jacob Fife here, and you'll see that Brandon Bernhardt and Gael Brooks, not to mention a bit of Tyler Hensley as well, they're all catching up and going through very quick. That time by Brandon Bernhardt was about 0.03 of a second quicker than Jacob Fife. Gael Brooks was more like a 1/10 of a second quicker, and Tyler Hensley was more than a 1/10 faster. So that time by Hensley, the quickest of those in the back of the field, all trailing each other in one line. And as a result, with that draft, Tyler Hensley's got a minor edge in terms of the competitors he's around. Just has not been able to wait and find out how to make that move. And same goes now for Alan Dobbs, putting a bit more pressure once again on Alec Dafton as they make it across the stripe for lap 26. Alec Dafton still holding on to that minor advantage, but it's not as big of an advantage as it was about 10-15 laps ago. Early in the going, we've seen Dafton is the fastest driver. Then he was about the second quickest driver, and then he got that advantage back. And right now, he's about dead even with Alan Dobbs, and if not, Dobbs is quicker. So for Alan Dobbs, knowing this is a do-or-die night for the 05 crew, he cannot afford to lose anything more than what he's got. He's got to go for a race win, got to lead those laps, and Alec Dafton, who's been sitting pretty in terms of the championship standing, knows another pole position. Of course, he was able to get himself up to the front of the board, only missing the pole by 1 spot, and now finding himself up there hoping for 4 consecutive podiums. He's well on his way to what could be a championship run if all goes well at Homestead here. He's building that foundation that's going to be very hard to get rid of, cementing the most important stepping stone to a title, those consistent finishes up in front. Matter of fact, when it comes to his overall average finish in the clash this season, 1.66, a win and 3 second place finishes, and it would move back up just slightly under 1.5 at the end of tonight if Alec Dafton were to win this race, and it would be an average finish of 1.6 throughout all championship fight races. Those were the clash occurs where the points are reset. Then we got the round of 8, and drivers are signaling they're pitting in this time by Kyle Cooper, going to be just about coming through. Looks like he chooses not to that time around. Chad Micah signals pit. Is that going to be for certain? It looks like as he comes across the stripe, number 25 machine gives the signal quick, and he will choose not to act upon it. So it looks like it might not be the case, as a few drivers signal, do not act on it, and just like that, we'll look up in front. Once again, drivers had access to one chat room throughout the race, courtesy of iRacing, which means they can send messages whenever they please. Chad Micah chooses to send one. Might have been an accident there. These are hotkey messages, so if you want to press one button and send the word that you're putting in next time by, that you could do exclusively on iRacing here. All these platforms coming together in terms of communication, in terms of the racing itself, and it all makes a much better, more immersive experience. Although it looks like for Alec Daffman now, he's immersed in the battle between he and Alan Dobbs as they continue to toss and turn back and forth for the fastest lap on track. That time by, Daffin clearly has it. It's a 29.242 for the driver of the number 48. Dobbs is going to be there in second. Tom Wetmore going to be third. Bressie fourth. And Matthew Thornhurst rounds out the top 5. Nick Tarbuck going to be sixth right now. Don Stevenson going to be in seventh. 21 drivers on the track as it stands. Cody Griffin chose not to start this event. So as a result, remainder of the field is still on track and on the lead lap. Looking further back right now at the driver, the number 55. Andrew Schaub, you'll see there, that Toyota Supra 24 seconds back on the leader, which means Alec Daffin is coming soon and might be on his way to lapping the driver before pit stops get on the moves. Shaw Racing's number 48 flagship driver here in the Integrity Ignite Series, making waves so far, and 32 laps in at a 125, has been the leading driver almost all the way. Takes him to the stripe again, and how's about we ride on board with your current race leader in Alec Daffin for a lap. And seeing here inside the cockpit of Alec Daffin, the minute movements, making those rhythmic processes of each and every turn. You can't be extreme when it comes to that steering wheel here in these Xfinity stock cars, because not only are you working with a lot of power and very little grip, not a lot of mechanical downforce to speak of, let alone anything extra aerodynamic, but also these track temperatures that we got to keep an eye on, they are still extreme. Dropping slightly right now to about 104 Fahrenheit, but that is still triple digits, and imagine how that is for the tires that continue to shred from what was the 27s early in this race. Now you'll see drivers in the 29s consistently, if not the 30s. You're seeing several seconds of degradation each and every time around, so don't expect that to get any better as the race goes on, as drivers are continuing to struggle with tire wear. It's going to be one of the more prevalent themes of this race, and right now Alec Daffin able to slightly break away, and he seems to be in his element as of recent. This number 48 machine coming into his own, and ever since he got that win at Kentucky, waiting for 2 years to have the chance at the race win, he's been on a tour of, shall we say it, revenge, I suppose. I mean, he's been waiting oh so long to stick it to the field, showing that he's got that race-winning pace, and now he does it all over again, night after night after night. Podium finish, podium finish, podium finish, and a win to go with it. That's the cherry on top, and it was a very, very lackluster regular season. We saw some major mistakes, such as the incident at the Parabolica in Monza, which was just about the summary of his season to that point. It was a driver-inflicted error that sent him out of the night on a top 10 run, and ever since getting that win in Kentucky, where he's always strong at no matter the car or truck, he's now been able to find himself as a perennial podium contender week after week. We have not seen him lower than third ever since the regular season ended. Absolutely great racing so far for the number 48 of Daffman. Rest of the field right there with him, 38 laps in of 125. And working down the former front straightaway once again, you'll see gaps are continuing to increase right now. Tom Wetmore touching the wall just a bit last lap by. He's going to have a bit more trouble than anticipated, and it looks like now that Tube Tech Toyota Supra is going to fade back further into the distance here, letting Thomas Bressi reel him in slowly but surely. Fifth place is going to be Matthew Thornhorst, and Nick Tarbuck is going to be in sixth. Michael Stroll going to be position number 8 right now, still chasing Don Stevenson. And for the opening segment of this race, we've seen a largely clean action. Drivers respecting each other, moving around quite nicely, and the battles have not been all too close. However, you'll see some riskier action further on back. Taking a look right now, what will be the Don Stevenson Nick Tarbuck show. 29 machine and the number 47 fighting each other. Of course, they're leaping through all of the drivers, but they're going lap after lap, trying to make something happen for themselves. And this battle has not been anything of fluctuation. Mostly constant between Nick Tarbuck and Stevenson. Looks like for the last few laps, Tarbuck has held 6th. Don Stevenson, he's been able to hold on to 7th. And even though Stevenson has not been able to make that pass and pounce on that 29, he's still there and is eyeing every opportunity. No mistakes so far being made from Nick Tarbuck, though, and that's the glaring fault in Don Stevenson's pursuit of 6th place. You gotta wait oftentimes for a driver to make that first mistake to open up the door and then go from there. For Don Stevenson, as it stands, he has not seen that glaring mistake, and that's going to be the really tricky part to get by, because if you don't have a driver ahead of you who's been inconsistent, making minute errors, even if they're small, that can change the way a battle goes from one driver's favor to the next. Matthew Thornhorst is going to be 5th, Thomas Bressi 4th, and Tom Wetmore is going to be in 3rd. You'll see Alan Dobbs is going to be there 2nd as Alec Daffin still leads the way. Gap is continuing to grow, and it goes to show now that Alec Daffin really absolutely going to be locked in lap after lap here. He looks to be in no trouble gaining more and more time. Dobbs has a lot of room to Tom Wetmore, but Alec Daffin has room to the both of them and continues to hold his own with that advantage at the stripe once again. Leads the way, and now 43 laps in out of 125. One man down a pit road that time through. It looks to be Kyle Cooper, and he's going to come in and now be 1 lap down. Did not look like a competitive pit stop, meaning it was only for service. He went down for presumably some damage, and now is back on the move after a 47-second stop. So one driver going to be down in for a bit longer than expected. Alec Daffin and the rest of the field going to have to think about when they come down a pit road now, as you'll see battles persist. Last week's race winner, Blake Gordon, going to be there in the 10th spot. And that number 13 machine still fighting hard. Live on board with the number 13 of Blake Gordon. You'll see how he's going to pounce on Sean Carmody as he's now within 1/10 of a second of the 9th place driver. And now we're still looking with this battle here. You'll see Blake Gordon going to get just a bit loose. No major changes in terms of position, but you'll see Gordon waiting for an opportunity that he still hasn't gotten. Michael Stroll is also in the mix right now in 8th place for that number 38 crew, running just within the top 10. This is the battle, 8th, 9th, and 10th respectively. Now you'll see Rob Ackley a bit further back in 11th, so really not much to worry about for these drivers just ahead. They're going to have to fight amongst each other for the positions, and they will have a lot of buffer to the next man back, because then you're going to see ahead of them too, Don Stevenson has a way larger amount of room than someone like Nick Tarbuck or Matthew Thornhorst would on one another, because you'll see Stevenson is really lying back now, and Nick Tarbuck has gotten his way, breaking further and further out on his own, whereas Don Stevenson has been setting himself the opposite direction, and more going to be set further back in the pack, as opposed to making his moves further on up. Alec Daffin leads the way in 47 laps out of 125, and we're now nearly 50 laps in, which begs the question, how much longer will these drivers go, and can they go to make it a half cycle race, meaning it's going to be one pit stop and halfway through you go down for that one stop and then you get back on your way. So about a 62-63 split or something around that area. That's going to be the end goal right now for the drivers who have not yet come down a pit road, which is almost the entirety of the field. So right now, most drivers have opted to stay on this strategy for hoping for a one pit stop night. However, now we'll see who's going to benefit the most, who might have to come down a pit road another time. And as they come through this time by, it's going to be Dobbs in second, Tom Wetmore third, Bressie in fourth, Matthew Thunderst in fifth, and Mick Tarbuck then in sixth. 49 laps in, it's been so far all green race. Drivers have been all around each other, but still not making any major moves. Closest battle is going to be between Carmody, Blake Gordon, and now Michael Stroll. In particular, that number 38 machine going to be hounded by Sean Carmody, and Sean's going to see that Michael bobbles up once, goes back down low, and it's going to be a slicing move to keep that defense going. Sean Carmody having none of it so far, but no chance to make a lunge as they both drop down through the dogleg. You'll also see Blake Gordon still waiting, and he's in the wings here. If there's a mistake made, you know that Blake Gordon's going to make it around, take a pass or two if he can, and Michael Stroll is going to make it easy. Down a pit road, this time by 50 laps in, Michael Stroll very close to the pit road wall. Luckily, gets out of it, and Chad Mikas comes in too. This time by 50 laps in, drivers making their way to pit road for the first time, and now we'll see someone like Alec Daffin, Alan Dobbs, Tom Wetmore. What can they do in regards to their strategy to go any further? Because we're coming up on what would be about halfway, but it looks like right now some drivers already going to be abandoning ship and having to come in early and sacrificing their chances at a good finish. That might be the case. However, we'll see whether or not anyone can go much further, because if it's going to be past halfway for Daffin or his contemporaries pit stops, that's trouble for someone who comes in at lap 50. It's a 10-lap difference, but it's an awful lot when you divide this race up into two compared to going into three. So 2 pit stops versus 1. That saves you about 40, 50 seconds at the minimum. Not to mention, if you're inconsistent in that pit road and you lose more time there, you're really going to be on the short end of this stick. 4 tire sets to work with. The resources are not the problem. The bigger issue right now is just how to space out the time and make sure you go in at the right time, go in when you need to, and eventually make that strategy work for the first half and translate it directly over to the second. And Daffin's now going to see this rearview mirror. Tom Wetmore catching up more and more to Alan Dobbs. Wetmore going to be putting down that pressure, and you'll see right now the 51 machine, who initially made some contact with the wall in this opening run, is now gaining all that time right back. Thomas Bressie is also going to be part of this battle, and that number 24 machine, keep an eye out for him as well. Down the dog leg, you'll see now Wetmore's up top. For a brief moment, he gets there, now goes low again, and Thomas Bressie goes up to a higher side to keep the pressure on Alan Dobbs. Right now, though, Dobbs has not let up. He's got multiple drivers trying to hound him, but he's still going to keep him right behind. Not bad at all defensive driving from Alan Dobbs, but it does almost give way to a wreck. Wetmore backs it down, puts it back in motion. They beat and bang once again, and it looks like all loose for the number 51 machine. Tom Wetmore going to see trouble and luckily not see the end of the race for this number 51 team. That could have been it, but they're still fighting fiercely as the Tube Tech Toyota Supra does not give in. And it looks like right now Thomas Bressie stays on the bottom. Taking a look at the close fought action here, Joshua Marshall in chat, thank you for stopping by. Number 29 machine right now going to be making his way in. Matthew Thunderst is going to be still right behind this battle side by side between Bressie and Wetmore. And keep in mind here, if Tom Wetmore was to go around, most likely would have caught multiple championship contenders. Bressie, Thunderst in particular. Perhaps if it's not Alec Daffin, those are the 2 most important title fighters in terms of the bigger picture. If those 2 drivers were down and out for a night, it might as well be a layup for Alec Daffin, save for a major incident on his path. I think that would be just about the championship race wrapped up in one foul swoop. Bressie is going to fade back more. Thomas now sees that Wetmore gets up to third, and Alan Dobbs is going to stay in second here, although he's about 2 seconds back on your overall race leader. It's Alec Daffin leading the way and holding his own. 57 10 out of 125, and now we are indeed nearing that halfway point, and it looks like most drivers should be good to go for at least 60-some laps on their fuel run and their tire strategy. So that's great to see. It's going to be a very simple one-stop strategy the way drivers are playing it, so nothing all too advanced. It's not going to be the most complex strategy, but it is the one that looks to be working. So for drivers right now like Daffin, Dobbs, and Wetmore, they don't have to stress all too much as they work their way down the front straightaway yet again, the former front straightaway. It's a huge gap up in front of the field. Top 5 is separate now by 3 seconds. Top 10 is separate by 6 seconds. Top 15 by 11 seconds. So major gaps being made from your leader on back, and really nothing else to be ashamed of for these guys up in front here. They might be losing time to Daffin, but they're still all amongst each other. And now Matthew Thunder's trying to make it by Tom Wetmore. He looks up high first, then tries to get that scathing run down low, puts on the full assault speed down the stretch, and it might just be enough to make something happen through 3 and 4, but Wetmore continues to block, and that defense game has been untouchable. And right now, that's what's kept Tom Wetmore up there in that 3rd spot, lap after lap. He has not been beaten at his own game, so he stays there in 60 laps in out of 125. That's how they stay. Very close battle, though, as you look off the back bumper of Tom Wetmore. Look at how close Matthew Thunderhorse is once again, and Thunderhorse is still not giving up or giving in. He's on the back bumper and waiting for something to happen, but nobody giving way. And right now, Wetmore going to take that dog leg a bit deeper than, of course, that number 8 in Matthew Thunderhorse there. That's going to be a minor advantage into turns 1 and 2. But then Matthew Thunderhorse puts the bumper all in through the first 2 corners and gets the run off. That's not going to be satisfactory, but waiting for turns 3 and 4 to make a pounce once again. That's the end goal right now for Thunderhorse, to stay there locked up corner to corner as Alan Dobbs makes it around once more. Daffin is in his own zip code right now. Alan Dobbs, not so much, but he still has a substantial lead in terms of 2nd place. 3rd's going to be Tom Wetmore. 4th is then going to be, of course, the number 8 of Matthew Thunderhorse. 5th is Bresci, and you'll see now it looks like even Michael Stroll's in the mix, but the reason being Michael Stroll right now going to find himself in the mix because he's on newer tires and should be able to easily breeze by these drivers who are on the older set. And right now for Stroll, it's a short-term gain, but it does not look like he'll be able to go all the way. So in that sense, it's a long-term loss. Halfway down and halfway to go, 63 laps remaining as they come through this time by Daffin and the number 48 team have been head and shoulders above the field, and it continues to be that way here. The Next Level Racing 200-kilometer, 100 of which have gone through, and we'll run through your top 10 as it stands. Alec Daffin will lead the way over Alan Dobbs in 2nd, Tom Wetmore 3rd, and Matthew Thunderhorse is going to be in 4th. Thomas Bresci's in 5th with Nick Tarbuck position number 6, and Don Stevenson is in 7th with Sean Carmody 8th, and Blake Gordon then in 9th. Rounding out your top 10 as it stands is Rob Ackley in the number 22. As the championship battle continues, we would like to thank the official premier partner of the Integrity Racing League, NextLevelRacing.com. For all your sim racing hardware needs since 2009, Next Level Racing's have you covered. And for all that you'll need in your sim racing equipment, Next Level. If you want to take your sim racing there, check out Next Level Racing after tonight's broadcast at NextLevelRacing.com. For dedicated sim racers who want nothing but the best, it's Next Level Racing, the official premier partner of the Integrity Racing League, and we'll be right back after this brief promotional break. Daffin is in, 61 laps to go, and we're just past halfway here in Phoenix. returning now with 59 laps remaining, race leader Thomas Bressi comes down and in. Pit cycle still on the way. Alec Daffin made his with no error, and now that number 48 machine going to be on the move, cycling back up after a 47.7 second pit stop. Fastest of which on the night so far will go to Blake Gordon, the number 13 machine, and Blake Gordon 1 lap down as it stands, has a rapid quick pit stop, and it's good enough to put him back in the 15th spot for now, due to cycle inside the top 10 when all is said and done. Right now, pit stop spread is very minor. You'll see Brian McFerrin's going to be 4th, Bressi's on pit road, and we're waiting on whether or not he's got a fast time coming out of the box. Bressi's going to be one of the big drivers to keep an eye out for. He's behind multiple drivers such as Alec Daffin. And now, 68 laps in, comes back onto the track just like that. 57 laps to go, and Bressi returns 1 lap down, and he has himself a 47.7 second pit stop, similar, if not exactly the same, to Alec Daffin. But however, Daffin on a different strategy. He went into pit road a bit later, as opposed to Alec Daffin went earlier. It's a vice versa. Thomas Bressi went longer, undercut for Daffin, and 69 laps in. Very nice lead for Gael Brooks as he holds it through with 57 laps remaining. Looks like right now he's just waiting to come down to pit road and call it quits up in front. A lot of drivers getting their share, leading at least a lap or two up ahead. And you'll see Brandon Bernhardt's going to be 2nd, Brian McFerrin 3rd. These drivers might not have been up front all night long, but getting a chance to get those extra spots, get those points, and get back on the way, and hopefully get a bit more out of the championship run for their sakes. It's a championship battle for every driver. Of course, maybe they're not title eligible. However, every point means a big deal in regards. So looking forward to what is next on the campaign as they come through this time by. You'll see Gael Brooks makes his way in. Andrew Schaub is going to be right now 22nd, 38 laps down. Here's Brandon Bernhardt, and taking a look at that number 81 machine, he leads the way. Michael Stroll going to be 2nd. 3rd place now going to be Daffin's as they're all cycling through. Just like that, only 2 drivers remain. And then there were 2. And of those 2, it looks like one's just gone down and in, and Michael Stroll is on a much different strategy. And this is interesting because it was a 71 lap run for Brandon Bernhardt, which is a very long run, of course. However, Michael Stroll only has a 3-second lead on Alec Daffin, and he would have to go about 75 laps. So unsustainable and unlikely. However, it is not necessarily impossible for Michael Stroll to win this race on his current strategy. However unlikely it may be, it still could happen depending on how the circumstances for the remainder of the night play out. Keep an eye out for the 38 machine, and we'll see how far he falls if he keeps on falling, because right now he's given up a lot of time to Alec Daffin and the number 48 team, who are now slowly but surely gaining more and more on their current race leader. And it looks like right now Alan Dobbs also getting a good run off pit road, stays right behind the number 48 machine, 1st and 2nd in terms of the guys who went down to pit road, only separate by about half a second here. And they're still making time. Lap in, a lap out, no major gains for Dobbs and Alec Daffin, but the biggest gains right now are going to be Michael Stroll and Alec Daffin, because right now Alec has made up more time lap after lap, and for Michael Stroll on a much older set of Goodyear rubber, really not much else he can do but wait to face the consequences. Older tires in a longer run never play out well at Phoenix because it's still a scorching 103 Fahrenheit, and that track temperature not coming down quick enough to really benefit Michael Stroll. He needed down in the 70s or 80s, and not at all getting there. So I don't think Stroll is going to have his saving grace, and he'll just have to keep on running until the tires burn out, till the fuel is all dried up. Because you can see Alec Daffin now half a second away and making more time as it stands. He just has to think about when that move is made. Up next, Michael Stroll and Alec Daffin going to be fighting each other for the race victory. However, of course, Michael Stroll right now in a much different strategy does not seem to be any more sustainable than that of the number 48 machine. So Daffin now going to be on that back bumper, taking a look as we ride on board with Alec Daffin. We'll find out exactly what he does here as we see right up there on Michael Stroll. Outside the 38 machine goes Alec Daffin, going to remain right down to the bottom, and side by side Daffin makes quick work of Michael Stroll, and just like that, down low, it's the supreme line to use, and Alec Daffin uses it quite well. New race leader Alec Daffin back out in the front of the field, and with 50 laps to go for the miracle run in this Clash campaign, Alec Daffin in his final 2 races for Shaw Racing looks to be going out with a blaze of glory. 50 laps left, he's led more than halfway already, and now it's going to be Michael Stroll playing catch-up here as Alan Dobbs and Matthew Thunder set their sights on getting up to that number 48. Michael Stroll has been defending very hard too, so keep that in mind. He's not done yet because his teammates are not done yet. Chad Mikus on the same strategy has just recently fell down to 13th, but is still battling for all he has, so Michael Stroll is going to fight and claw and fight again, and it doesn't look like right now all too much success. 38 machine Michael Stroll goes way down low, Matthew Thunhorst right up top, and Tom Wetmore there are going to be in 5th as the driver of the number 51 machine gets right up there. You'll see now going to be some room to play with. Wetmore goes up high, gets by the much slower Michael Stroll, and makes the move. Then and there you have it. Another spot going to be taken up immediately thereafter. Tom Wetmore gets out of sight and now puts it all on Matthew Thunhorst, looking at that number 8 machine's back bumper with 48 laps remaining. And now in the dying laps of this one, Tom Wetmore has been the best of the championship spoilers all night long. As it comes down to the final few laps, it's been definitely a night to remember for Tom Wetmore in his return to the Ignite Series. Not often he gets a chance to race on Monday nights with us, but when he does, often one of the more competitive drivers in the field, even if he doesn't have all too much experience in terms of racing in this particular series. However, with all that expertise with racing with these specific drivers, he has been able to make himself quite the competitor, fierce as ever, despite not making the majority of this campaign. And keep an eye out for him in 2024 in his part-time runs as he keeps it full-time, presumably in the Octane Series. We've seen him here on Monday nights before, fighting for wins. I mean, last season, his most recent race was Dover, and it was a battle between him and Nicholas Cohan till the very end, side by side. It's going to be now Tom Wetmore trying to lunge down low to the bottom groove with Matthew Thunhorst. Still pretty far away, so nothing side by side just yet, but Wetmore eyeing that spot down low and hasn't gotten it just quite. And as they come through this time by with 45 laps remaining, most pit stop is going to be on the way. Thomas Bressi is going to be up there in the driver of the number 24 machine, has held on quite well. And I mean, for this number 24 machine, 8th place right now. Nick Tarbuck then going to be in 7th. And with 44 laps to go, Bressi not at all where he needs to be. I mean, 8th right now, 4.5 seconds lying back. And there's no reason for Bressi to feel this is anything that he could really take from and move on with. Because right now, Alec Daffin, he's a main championship contender, is first at 82 laps in. He's been almost up there every lap on the night. So if you look more in Thomas Bressi's perspective, 8th place, he's only 2 points ahead coming into the night, and with all those bonus points he's losing, he has not been able to lead more than 5 laps today, if anything, and it really just has not been a night to remember for Thomas and that Exalta Chevrolet. Side by side, he has not been able to muster anything on Nick Tarbuck, and lying back in 8th, really not the place to be, and he's still there while his championship rival Alec Daffin runs away. 2 more races here for Shaw Racing. They crowned a champion on Saturday night. It was, of course, Jordan Kuntz who got it done for 2 consecutive titles. And on Monday nights, Jordan Kuntz also a champion of the Schumacher Racing League. But here in Integrity, Alec Daffin carries the banner and does so alone. The Next Level Racing 200 kilometers sees Alec Daffin as the race leader, 84 laps in out of 125. And once again, let's run through your top 10 and find out what's going on here with Daffin, your leader. Alan Dobbs is going to be 2nd, Matthew Thunhorst 3rd, Tom Wetmore going to be 4th, and Don Stevenson, position number 5. Michael Stroll is going to be 6th, and Nick Tarbuck is 7th, Bressi's 8th, and Blake Gordon is 9th, with Timothy Johnston rounding out that top 10 in the USAA Supra. And once again, here is the official partner of the Integrity Racing League. NextLevelRacing.com brings you all of your preferred sim racing hardware for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best. Since 2009, they've had you covered with all your sim racing needs. Sim rigs, that's the best place to go. And as a matter of fact, your overall 2023 champion will win a sim rig courtesy of Next Level Racing, valued at over $2,000 US. Check them out today after tonight's broadcast at nextlevelracing.com, and we'll bring you your second promotional break of the day, courtesy of next. And returning with 38 laps left, Alec Daffin is still up there, and he has been putting on a clinic. 38 to go, 1 second advantage over Alan Dobbs, and so far, despite the fact Dobbs has had some quicker laps, he's not been able to sustain that pace consecutively, and right now, the driver of the 05 machine holds on, lies back, and is 1 second behind that number 48. Matthew Thunder's in third, Tom Wetmore's fourth, and Don Stevenson's in fifth. Close battle going to be further on back, though. It's going to be Michael Stroll and Blake Gordon. Gordon, who won, of course, at Martinsville last week, he's been hoping to come back and get another top 10 at the very least. Tonight, not as big of a dominant performance as it was in Virginia, but still holding his own up there, fighting now side by side with Michael Stroll, and might be able to battle with Thomas Bresci again. This time, not quite for the race lead. Instead, it would be for the 7th spot. So Bresci makes up another position, and now he's back there with Nick Tarbuck. However, still outside the top 5, multiple championship contenders in that top 5. Matter of fact, as it stands, 3 of which are Don Stevenson and Matthew Thunhorst and Alec Daffin, and also Alan Dobbs. 4 of your 5 in that top 5 are all still championship eligible, and with 36 laps to go here, here's a look at your championship picture. It's about as close as it possibly could be. Alec Daffin and, of course, Thomas Bresci. We've mentioned them all night long. They're your top 2 in the championship picture, and they are those that you gotta watch going into Homestead next week. Daffin would come out with a major advantage at the end of this night, and Matthew Thunder's right now running in third. Wouldn't be too far back. He's 13 points behind the overall leader. Don Stevenson's only 16 back, and he's running in 5th. So it might be, realistically speaking, about a 4, maybe 5 car race come the end of the season next week at Homestead. Keep your eyes peeled to the 10 questions with Boomer Logan 200, because that's where it's all going to come down to. The final race of this campaign, Homestead, Miami, 134 laps. And if tonight's been an exciting one, well, you are in for much more. Phoenix has been very tame. Not to say it has been a boring race. As a matter of fact, these long green flag runs really give a chance to understand who's the best driver in long run strategy, who understands the right decisions to make, and who can make those perfect calls to come home in a victory lane. However, Homestead has everything on the line. One last chance in 2023 to come home with race win. One last chance in 2023 to come home with a season championship. And for Matthew Thunhorst and Thomas Bresci, regardless of what happens in the season championship, let's say someone like Daffin or Dobbs or Stevenson runs away with it, they're still fighting for the biggest prize in them all, the grand prize, courtesy of Next Level Racing, and that sim rig is a big deal. To say nothing, of course, of the season championship, which is about as important as it gets for all these drivers. You want to get that end of year bonus if you're still eligible. Realistically, 50 points separate the top 2 drivers who are still fighting. But tonight might be the night that Matthew Thunhorst locks up that big prize. Now, we're not saying it for certain, but since he's ahead of Thomas Bresci and came in with just about 55 points of a lead, if he just stays ahead here for the final 32 laps, there's a serious chance that Matthew Thunhorst locks up the biggest prize of the season and comes home with that sim rig 1 week early. All speculation right now. The points can still change. But we don't know if Matthew Thunhorst is going to end up in 3rd when it's all said and done. Don't know if Thomas Bresci is going to finish in 7th. Speculation arises here in the final few laps in Phoenix, and your top 2 drivers in the championship battle, Daffin and Bresci, separate 1st and 7th. And right now, Daffin's got the advantage while Blake Gordon starts to put down pressure, and Thomas Bresci might be in a bit more trouble once again. At the line, it's going to be a 29.407 for Thomas Bresci, 29.416 for Blake Gordon, separate sprint by less than 1/100th of a second, and these two have been on each other lap after lap for around 5 laps running here. We'll keep an eye on what's going on 96 laps in at a 125, just beyond the leaders of the field, as so far Daffin continues to run this clinic and does so without fail each and every lap around. Right now, Alan Dobbs is 1.3 seconds back. And as the track temperature finally starts to wane, 102 degrees Fahrenheit, the air temperature not changing all too much, but now, according to iRacing's overall system of weather, it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Times are slowly but surely beginning to change. You'll see the sun slowly but surely casting a larger shadow, which means the track not as warm, not as slick. The weather system is not just for show here in iRacing. It will be a great dictating factor in how these drivers opt to go about strategy. And right now, for Daffin, he played his cards just right. Got those new tires in early, got himself ready, warmed them up while the track was cooling down, and played that game to get the perfect slick amount of tire in it at the right time, which meant he got it warmed up fast, got moving even quicker, and now he's going to reap the benefits of a much colder track in the final stages of this race, as with 27 laps remaining, Alec Daffin is hoping to hold on to a miracle that has been this Clash performance. His average finish, if he wins this race in the Clash events, 1.6. Unstoppable. Alec Daffin leads the way, 99 laps in. Matthew Thornhurst right now going to be right there in the mix, with Tom Wetmore running 4th. Don Stevenson is 5th. Nick Tarbuck is 6th. And Thomas Bressie then is 7th. And right now, Blake Gordon holds his own in the 8th position. Michael Stroll 9th. Timothy Johnston is in 10th, and Rob Ackley is then in 11th, with Sean Carmody the 12th man and Jacob Fife in 13th. Tyler Hensley then in the 14th spot himself. Chad Mikus is going to be 15th, and Boomer Logan right now battling with Mikus, as Gael Brooks is the final driver inside of the lead lap. He's running 17th as it stands. Brian McFerrin and Kyle Cooper, they run 1 lap down, but there's only been 1 retiree since the start of this race. Cody Griffin did not start. Brandon Bernhardt retired, 29 laps to go, and now Alec Daffin hoping to pull it home. However, there's a very close battle further on back. Take a look now at Timothy Johnston and Michael Stroll right on board briefly here with that number 28 machine to see what's going on. This is the fight for 9. And you'll see side by side here, Timothy Johnston going to make it oh so close with Michael Stroll, neck and neck. And now the AC Delco number 38 ends up on the second side. High side for the number 38 machine, Timothy Johnston right down low. And just like that, Johnston going to make quick use of Michael Stroll and make it right back up into the single digits with 24 laps to spare. The dying laps will see Timothy Johnston take another spot, putting himself up into 9th. Just like that, big win in terms of getting that spot back. And just like that, indeed, Timothy Johnston has a big chance to make up more time, with Blake Gordon 8th, Thomas Bressie in 7th, and Nick Tarbuck just a further up in 6th. However, with 22 laps to go this time by, we'll crank it up with the best camera partners on the iRacing platform, TrackCams22.com. Track cams for Gorman to provide over 100 car and track combinations. And if you're an iRacing broadcaster and you work with sim racing photography, there's only one place you should go. And with 22 laps to go, let's crank it up, courtesy of our camera partners, TrackCams22.com. Track cams for Gormans. And we're coming through with 16 laps to go. Alec Daffin still advantageous, and he has not given up that top spot to this point. Second place is still going to be Alan Dobbs here. He's not giving up that second spot himself. Matthew Thunhorse maintains the final spot on the podium, and for the most part, the top three has remained where it is all throughout the night. I mean, consistency has been key for both Dobbs and Daffin, but Alec Daffin making that one spot improvement from second to first is a big deal in the championship, not only because he keeps Alec Dobbs at bay, but also keeping Thomas Bressie way back. And now, even though it won't be insurmountable come Homestead Miami next week, having this edge over Bressie, who's in 7th, would be enough to really make it a huge challenge. You'd have to be just about perfect to make it past that number 48. Now Daffin, in what could be his penultimate race here in the Integrity Ignite Series, is hoping to get one more win, making a multi-win season and go out with a bang. 48 machine leads once again as they come across the dogleg. Sunset beaming down on this number 48, and he holds his own. The Shaw Racing Machine, Chevy Camaro emblems on, and the Bowtie Brigade is now leading the way in first. You'll see Ford is going to be in third right now, first and second Chevy, and Tom Wetmore has been the flagship Toyota all night long, and it keeps that way, as you'll see right now. Fourth place for Tom Wetmore, and holds his own 51 machine just outside the podium in his first start of the season. Wetmore not giving these drivers any slack, even if he is a part-time driver, and has shown that he'll fight with anyone on the field for position. It's been thankfully good, clean racing all night long with 13 laps to go. No cautions so far, and a very nice start to this race that's progressed to an overall very clean, very respectful event. And that number 51 machine works down low. You'll see getting down to the second groove, almost makes it down to the paint, but really not going to go for that, and instead try to get that wider exit to go deep into the dogleg. Get that early entry into the dogleg and go from there. We'll ride up top this time and use our drone cameras eyeing the sky to find out more about how these different drivers use those lines around Phoenix, because this is essential to understanding who goes where in the track. There's a lot of room to decide from here in Phoenix. You don't have to try the same line every lap, and you'll see Wetmore is going to opt to skate up much higher first. He'll get all the way up to the wall, then drop down to the bottom, and he takes it much deeper to the dogleg, as opposed to Don Stevenson, who decided to stay very cut tight into the corner and use that banking to carry him around the track. Now Wetmore ends up going high and then gets down a little later than Stevenson. Late apex gets him moving once again, and now is to go down the former front straightaway into turns 3 and 4. Now neck and neck yet again. It looks like even though these drivers are running much different grooves, they're running about the same lap time. That time by Wetmore was quicker by just over 3/100ths of a second, and that difference largely comes from cutting that distance under the dogleg. He sets himself up nicely to do so, and he follows through. It's execution upon the plans you set, and that's really the difference between a driver like Tom Wetmore right now and like Don Stevenson. It's minute. It's almost not visible. You really couldn't tell if you're watching from any other camera angle, but that is why the eye in the sky is so essential to understanding why drivers make the choices they do. 9 laps to go this time by. Let's get this out of the way. One more promotional break courtesy of Next Level Racing, and we'll have you our final promotion before we get back on the move with uninterrupted coverage from here on out. For high-quality sim racing performance products for dedicated sim racers who deserve nothing but the best, visit nextlevelracing.com for all the necessary information to join the Next Level Racing family, the official premier partner of the Integrity Racing League. We'll be right back after our final promotional break of the night and return after these messages. Seven laps remaining. Heading down to 6, as a matter of fact, for Alec Daffin as he makes it around the final turn yet again and heads down to the front straightaway. For now, only 6 more trips. The last miles and last laps are all coming in a flash right now for this number 48 machine, and I don't think he wants a caution by any means right now, although these guys are bunched up and bundling each other more and more. Tom Wetmore in the midst of a very close pack in the middle of this field. Matthew Thunder's going to be right there. You'll see Don Stevenson in the mix. Nick Tarbuck is going to be there too, and Thomas Bressy's really not all where he'd like to be. 7th place, chasing down Kyle Cooper. Kyle is 2 laps down here with some damage, and Thomas Bressy, not the case for him. He actually has younger tires than those ahead of him, and it looks like those warmer tires that got warmed up early have been able to play to the favor of the ever-changing track surface here in Phoenix. Just about all shade throughout the circuit for the most part. Now, at 121 laps in, drivers like Daffin Dobbs got off better. Thunderst, Wetmore, and Stevenson, not so much, and Blake Gordon right now going to be in the 8th spot, getting closer with Timothy Johnston. Those two will bundle each other up and fight for the final few laps as Johnston goes way down low. Looks like that number 28 machine's got something to say, and he's going to make his first move to the bottom, signal that he's got maybe something in store. Now we'll see what's next in the table of thought for Timothy Johnston. He's certainly trying to make something happen here, just hasn't made something of it for certain, and execution in these final laps will really tell the tale of who can make those clutch moments happen in their favor and who's going to step aside, lose more time. And right now for these drivers, it looks like with 3 laps to go, there's now going to be a little opportunity. However, if you're close, still got a chance to make something of your situation. 3 laps to go this time by for Alec Daffin as he comes down the former front stretch all over again into turns 3 and 4, and we'll have ourselves now only 2 more miles of racing here from Avondale, Arizona. And Alec Daffin has just about set himself up perfect to go to that final race in Homestead and fight for a championship. Shaw Racing leaving their crew behind. This number 48 team, it is set to retire at the end of the year. Alec Daffin leaving iRacing full-time competition and set to return on a part-time basis by 2025. Not many plans in the future for this number 48 team. However, they know if they've accomplished anything within the past several years of racing together, this final run, one of glory. Multiple wins in the Saturday Night Truck Series, 1 lap to go this time by, and for Daffin, he's got himself a chance to go for a 2nd win in the ever-competitive Ignite Series and keep this miracle run alive. As he comes across 3 and 4 this time by, Alec Daffin set to make his average finish in the Clash 1.6 flat. He's just about won everything he can, and if he doesn't, he finishes 2nd. But tonight, he won't have to settle for being a bridesmaid. Alec Daffin will come across the start-finish line as a winner again. Checkered flag for Alec Daffin in the Next Level Racing 200-kilometer. Winning once again in the penultimate race of the season, and Daffin has a major championship advantage over Alan Dobbs in 2nd and Matthew Funnels, who rounds out the podium tonight. Then Stevenson in 4th, Wetmore 5th, and Nick Tarbuck is in 6th, with Thomas Bressy 7th place for the driver who came in 2 points above. Not all where he'd like to be. Wetmore goes in reverse on pit road, and his drivers come in for their cool down lap. Time for the celebration to begin. Alec Daffin in slower motion now, finishing up that cool down. We'll take a look and see exactly where he is, and we'll catch up to your race winner as he sets to burn down the house here in Phoenix. And Alec Daffin, as opposed to burning it all down, will go for his traditional Polish victory lap ceremony and take one in reverse, not burning up his stuff, and you'll see Daffin back on the move. Not often does Alec Daffin burn it down in the traditional sense. However, this celebration a lot more subtle, and he'll take it around and not put up the smoke, at least for the time being. Daffin gives us an opportunity to check the race results for tonight's event before we get our final top 3 interviews to wrap off another successful night of racing here in the Integrity Racing League. Take a look inside the cockpit here with Alec Daffin still up on the high side And the number 48 machine does it again. Alec Daffin will win from Alan Dobbs in second and Matthew Thornworth in third, with Don Stevenson fourth, Tom Wetmore fifth, and Nick Tarbuck position number 6. Then from there, going to be Thomas Bressing seventh and Blake Gordon eighth, as it's Timothy Johnson ninth and Michael Stroll in 10th. 11th then going to be held by Rob Ackley with Sean Carmody 12th, Jacob Fife 13th, and Tyler Hensley 14th, as Boomer Logan rounds out the top 15. Kyle Brooks is 16th and Chad Mikas is 17th, as it's then Kyle Cooper just behind Brian McFerrin. McFerrin is 18th. Kyle Cooper 19th, and Brandon Bernhardt concludes the top 20. Then going to be Andrew Schaub in 21st and Cody Griffin 22nd, as Forrest Smith is the 23rd and final driver as Alec Daffin begins the smoke show. And with Daffin set to bring it down to pit road, race victory number 2 in the season, and the past 5 races, of course, didn't get it done on the podium in the final race of the regular season, but since then, he's been fantastic. First, second, and first. Daffin down to pit road once again. We'll bring it in one final time from Phoenix, and just like that, the celebration might be over, but the chance of the championship is only stronger after Alec Daffin wins the Next Level Racing 200-kilometer, 125 all-green laps tonight in Phoenix, and another especially clean event. We'll see Daffin on top, as it's Alan Dobbs in second and Matthew Thornworth, your third and final driver on the board. So just like that, with Alec Daffin, the final driver, of course, is on the track. He'll bring it down to pit road and call it a night. Winner for the second time this season. Alec Daffin gets it done, and it looks like right now, not in any voice chat, so we will get him in to have a word with us as we get things going for our top 3 ceremony here in Phoenix. Alec Daffin, your winning driver tonight, so we're going to get a word from him first, then get, of course, our second place man in Alan Dobbs, and third in Matthew Thornworth. There on out, we'll see how it goes in the point standings. If they're updated, we'll let you know. However, of course, after tonight, Alec Daffin is set to have that points lead, most laps led bonus, and of course, the race win. And we'll bring it back one more time as we'll take it back to your race feed. Alec Daffin gets it done and dominates all night long, brings him back to victory lane. I don't know what else you can say about this entire playoff run. This system, of course, gives way to some chaos, but it's been controlled all throughout. For the past 4 races, Alec Daffin non-stop. And this clash system has given way to one of the most dominant runs we've seen in iRacing. Yet again, podium finish, 4th consecutive. And Alec Daffin, you win for the second time in the clash here in Phoenix, further strengthening that championship chance. Lights out once again. How do you feel winning from Avondale?
It finally got back to where it needed to be. Like the last 2 weeks, we had 2 straight losses. So now we've got 2 wins and 2 losses in the playoffs. We just got to get over 500 next week. So feeling pretty good.
And feeling pretty good, of course, tonight. You beat all your competition in the championship race by a wide margin. We're able to come through with a 3-second win at the end. Strategy was on point. You had the speed to prove it as well. So what was the big separation between you and the rest of the field that got you this win when everyone else slowly but surely faded back?
So, I mean, obviously, we were fast tonight. We possibly fastest car. I mean, we held the lead the whole race, but I think definitely on the start there. I mean, the saying always is you can't win the race in the first corner, but I think in a way we probably did because, yeah, we were able to get a good jump there, and I kind of hit the chip going from 3rd to 4th gear at the start, but I still got in front of Dobbs there, and I was able to save my tires and then pull away in the long run. So I think definitely track position was a big thing. And after the pit stop, I was a little bit slow, but still able to save the tires there and then pull it away at the end. And we had, I think, our 2.7 second tail when pit stop started. Ended up winning by 3.2. So didn't get as much on the second round, but still did a net gain there. But yeah, I mean, it was a track position race for sure with it being caution free, but definitely played in our favor though.
And track position, you had it up there, front row in qualifying, and you only had to move up one spot to get this race going in your favor. Alec Daffin, you win tonight, and odds are you'll be leading the points heading to our final race of the season and your Shaw Racing career, 2 years of which you've been on a tear as of recent, no matter where you go, and now tonight, you come out and you have a very strong chance of locking up a championship. You got, of course, that advantage coming from Phoenix. What's it going to take to go for the title victory now with only one race left?
And I think I said this before, but Homestead is definitely not one of my best tracks, so definitely got to put in some laps throughout the week here. I mean, I'm not going to spend like 40 hours or anything, but definitely going to need to be prepared going into that, especially with how loose the fix-up is there nowadays. I'm assuming it'll be like that next week, so definitely got to put in a lot of practice. I mean, with Rusty finishing 7th tonight, we should have a pretty good points lead, especially with winning the stage and leading most laps. I think we did everything but get the pole, I think. I don't know. I think there's a point for fastest lap. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, definitely going to have to be prepared next week. I think probably a top 5 and we should be good to go. But either way, we're going to have to be prepared and be on it. And if we can do everything right, I think it's definitely mine to lose.
And just hoping to execute one more week here, Alec Daffin coming alive in the clash, winning once again in the next level racing, 200 kilometers. Anyone else you'd like to thank after tonight's event?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank Jacob Elkins. He's been spawning for me ever since Nashville, and I feel like he's definitely helped me a lot. So thank you to him for giving me, obviously, clear high, clear low, all of that, and giving me information throughout the race, which helps. Thank you for doing the broadcast as always. Thanks to Cameron Pierce and Shaw Racing Products. Obviously, only got a couple weeks left with the team, so trying to go out with a bang here, and we're definitely doing that for now. Thank you to all the Integrity admins. All my Twitch viewers, didn't have any tonight, but Twitch viewers at AlecDaffin48, and yeah.
An unbelievable fight here for Shaw Racing and Alec Daffin coming down to the wire this season. And just like that, Daffin winning again in Phoenix. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, David.
With Alec Daffin on the move, with a back against the wall for Alan Dobbs, a second place run. I'm sure he was looking for the win, but still had an awful lot of speed. Pole position, second place on the day, and Alan Dobbs, you showed up tonight in Phoenix with the intention of running up in front, and that you did. How do you feel coming off another night here, the penultimate of the season?
Well, I'm really happy with how the race turned out. Really good points night, which isn't something we've had many of. I honestly feel like if we would have started on the outside, we might could have won that because it's just so hard to pass. Like you just get in the dirty air and you can't get past that last 10th or 2. Like you saw there at the end, I was way slower than Thunhorse, but he still couldn't make it by me. That's just the track.
And we saw how important that first start was tonight. All green here at Phoenix, no break in the action. One pit stop, but that's about it. So challenge for everyone to make moves in terms of positions and whatnot, but you were able to hold on and get that second place run with some very fair strategy as well. You think there was anything in particular that set you apart, or were you just set from the very beginning?
I mean, I had good track position to start with, and that's so key here. It's kind of like Martinsville. If you start in the back, you're going to have a much harder time. And then just losing the lead off the start, you know, it's hard to keep the lead off the start, and when you lose it, you pay for it.
Of course, losing the start lead early, that's a big deal here at Phoenix that showed tonight, but either way, you hold on for a podium finish and one race left. Now, doing the first calculation, it's not 100% sure who's still championship eligible, but tonight, ahead of former points leader Thomas Bressi, major gain in that regard. You think there's even a shot here with Homestead up next to maybe fight for the outside chance of the title?
I mean, anything can happen, you know. Daffin could go in there next week and get wrecked lap 1. You never can tell what's going to happen, so we're definitely still in the fight. Daffin's got a pretty good lock on it. He's just got to have a good consistent week next week, and he should wrap it up pretty easily. But you know, we'll still go out there and try to do the best we can, get all the points we can, and see what happens. Never know.
And the fight is still on here for Alan Dobbs, second place finish tonight, one of the strongest weeks all year long, runner-up performance in Phoenix. Anything else you'd like to add after this race?
It's just thanks to my graphic sponsor, Nightfall Graphics, raceepi.com, and shout out to you for the broadcast. We appreciate it.
And there we have it. Alan Dobbs, second place on the day here. Checkered flag will fall with a runner-up finish in the Next Level Racing 200 kilometer. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, bud.
And with Alan Dobbs on the way, one more driver to speak tonight, and that will be Matthew Thunhorst in the third position. For JT Motorsports, Matthew Thunhorst keeps the fight alive at the third place run, podium finish, and not only in terms of the season championship, a big run, but for you, the overall Next Level Racing title battle. You got a huge lead now, even bigger so after tonight. So how do you feel with a third place finish to round out the podium here in Phoenix?
Well, David, I guess from the things you said, I should be happy, but tonight was miserable. Oh my goodness, it just felt like everywhere you were arrow tight, and it was so hard to make a pass. And it's like there at the end. I don't know if you all caught it on the broadcast, but it's like right there, you had to fight so hard to get to someone side by side so you can get clean air. And I know Alan was probably doing his best, but it's like a couple times it's like I feel like I got put in the wall there, and it's just like, oh God bless. And it was so frustrating because I feel like, it didn't matter what you did. It's like me and Bressy were talking after the race, and it's like he did the overcut, and it's just you couldn't go anywhere behind people. It was so hard to get the car to cut, and then the car didn't want to turn, and then it's like, okay, I'll put the power down and get towards the end of the round. The rear tires are like, yeah, I'm not going to work right now, so just go away. Stop using me, driver. And so yeah, that was probably the hardest fought like 3 positions I've ever tried to get out of a race. It was just, but to lock up the championship tonight, because I think as long as there's not a drop race, I got to fall back at 37 points. So, it feels good to lock up the season long, but it's, looking at the season B is kind of where my focus was at. And honestly, I'm just getting trounced there where I'm probably out of that one. So kind of stinks after being the regular season points champ and, just Daffin putting stellar performance on here in these playoffs, and he's just walking away with it. So, we'll just have to see how it goes.
And still, not over yet in regards to the season, as you mentioned. A very tough race for a lot of drivers and making those passes all night long, but keeping it consistent about the best you could do. And now, one race left. A final chance in 2023. It all comes down to what's left at the Homestead Miami Speedway. You think there's anything more you can give to perhaps keep the fight alive for even an outside shot at the title and, of course, the Next Level Racing bonus?
I think honestly it's kind of a lot like Charlotte last season, David. It's going to have to be, in that case it was I forget who it was, 64. I can't remember his name, but pretty much Daffin's either going to have to get caught up in somebody else's mess or just have a massive choke, and I don't see him doing that right now. And so I think honestly at this point I've pretty well locked into third. Maybe me and Brycey can fight it out for second, but unless utter chaos occurs next week, I think it'll be what it is kind of now. But, I still want to finish good in the points. It's, I've always been more of a fan of the old style points or, at least the whole season long, which is why I'm happy to win the whole season. But it's, there's still some pride on the line here for next week. It's not going to be, oh, I got defeated. Okay, we're going to go into next week and be all you. Or, we're going to fight hard. We're at least going to try to make sure we finish podium in the points. Maybe we can go get that silver. And, if Lady Luck shines her brightest light on us, maybe we go be the championship, go get this championship for season B. And, you never know. We got 134 laps between now and crowning the champion for season B. So I'm going to have to show up next week and give it my best shot. And, hopefully, we have all the folks that still show up and watch next week as fans and all that. And, we'll still try to put on a show for them regardless.
And still, as you say, one more show to put on. Not anything closed just yet. 134 laps between the end of the season and now. And Matthew Thunhorst, before our last trip to Florida, you finished third here in Phoenix. Anything else you'd like to add to finish this one off?
Yeah, David, just, thanks to you and everybody at Fireball Talks NASCAR for broadcasting us and bringing us to the folks, everybody who watches, and hope you all enjoyed that. And just everybody behind the Integrity Ignite series, all the admins, everybody that shows up and helps put this on, the sponsors. I'm failing again because I forgot who the sponsor for this race was, but thanks to them for sponsoring. And, just kind of like what we talked about, looks like pretty well I've locked up this season-long championship. So just thanks to Next Level Racing and everything they've done to, kind of have that really cool prize there at the end. And, just thanks to everybody that kind of makes this happen. And it's a little bittersweet. I don't know if I'll be able to interview next week, so I just wanted to kind of thanks to everybody all year. Hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks for everyone being a part of this. And if I don't get to talk to y'all next week, I guess I'll hopefully see y'all next year.
And with sights set on the last race of this season, and of course 2024 beyond, Matthew Saunders pulls through with another podium finish here at the Phoenix Raceway. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave.
Now, with Matthew Saunders still on the move, your final driver in the podium tonight, the number 8 machine comes home in third, Alan Dobbs in second, and Alec Daffin on a miracle run will win once again. And it looks like for a lot of drivers who have been oh so good all season long, they think Daffin's got the shot to bring it home and call it at that. But it's not done just yet, and don't think it is at all. One more race, 134 laps where anything can happen. It's the Homestead Miami Speedway for the 10 questions with Boomer 200. And it's going to be a hard-fought night in Homestead, Miami. Don't think for a second the championship battle is done. Davin's leading, but it doesn't mean he's won it already. It ain't over till it's over, so we hope to have you all next week live on FTN. I'll next be live Wednesday night with the FORL Cup Series as they keep their championship battle alive, and we hope to see you all there. Of course, whenever we're live again on FTN, we'd love to have you aboard watching all our content. I've been David Croyd, commentating and producing all of tonight's action. We hope to see you all whenever we're live again on FTN. If you enjoyed tonight's broadcast, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Your support is greatly appreciated. We thank you all watching, and we hope you have a fantastic night. This has been a presentation of the Integrity Ignite series and the Next Level Racing 200 kilometer.